Hello everybody and welcome back to this brand new creative challenge in Adobe Illustrator. Today we're going to be talking about colors. We're going to explore the foundations of using our lovely and amazing Illustrator while working with color. So I'm going to show you different techniques. In fact, I'm going to show you how to add color swatches to your libraries, how to grab colors from an image, how to transfer them into the swatches panel, how to use color in a most efficient way so you can apply to your projects and you can really take advantage of this challenge in your everyday live production. But before we get started and we jump into my screen, first of all, I want to say a big hello. No sound. Okay, no sound. What's going on? RB saying no sound. If you guys can tell me in the chat if it's just a problem for RB or if you can guys see me. Someone was saying no sound. Hi Sean, hi Emmer, of course I remember you. How's it going? I hope you're well. Can you guys give me a thumb up if there is sound? Okay, perfect, I'm fine. Fantastic. So hopefully you all hear this introduction. We're going to be talking about color. I'm really excited to get started. You can click on the link below here, the description of the challenge. Of course, you can either join and try these techniques with me, or you can also watch in the replay and then have fun and again implement these techniques in your projects. Fantastic. So make sure to download the starter file. I'm going to jump into my Illustrator so I can show you right away how that looks like and what we're going to be doing with these techniques. So I have pretty much just embedded some images. So let's go ahead and open the file. Let me jump real quick into my screen. And here it is. So if you do open up the started file for challenge number 7, can you believe that we've already been together for 7 different challenges? That means that we're gonna have a wonderful recap coming up this Friday. Don't forget to stay tuned. And of course, if you download the starter file right now, you will have access to this file and you will be able to use the same images as I'm using, and of course to replicate this challenge with your own images, because I want to make sure that you are here sharpening your skills and learning new techniques that you can implement in your work. As usual, give me a thumbs up under the video, both on watching, if you're watching on YouTube or on Behance. On YouTube, you just have the little like button, and don't forget to subscribe to Adobe Live. And of course, doing on Behance, you have a blue thumb up that is just right under the video. I will really appreciate if you enjoy the content that I put out, if you give the thumbs up for the live, during the live. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get started. Here you can see that we have 4 different images that we're going to use in order to display these techniques while working with colors. Today is not a project-based challenge, rather a foundation, really exploring techniques and possibilities. So I'm going to start with something that is quite quick. It's also going to go up into my Instagram Reels really soon because it's such an amazing technique. So what I'm going to be doing here, I'm just going to go ahead and pulling out some of these images. Here, this was ready actually for my reel. That's why we had that particular artboard. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and click on any of these images. I'm going to start by this last one and then simply click and drag in order to create a duplicate. Of course, when you drag, you can use the Alt key on a Windows or the Option key on a Mac to make sure that you actually duplicate correctly your file. And check it out. So what would I do if I wanted to start to pick up colors from the image? I think, and I guess that majority of us will first of all go ahead and click on the rectangle tool from the toolbar, or simply press the letter M on your keyboard, and then you can start to go ahead and start to create a first rectangle and square, and then you create the other rectangle or square, or you can perhaps be more consistent and simply duplicate over and over the one that you have. Maybe you can do the same with circles and go on. I'm already wasting way too much time. Then I'm going to go ahead and select it, press the letter I, or select the eyedropper tool here located inside the toolbar, which will allow you to copy and apply any appearance that we are selecting. So in this case, for example, I can go with this color, and then I can go ahead and select and choose the other color. But what if I wanted this other shade of purple there? You're gonna have to spend quite a long time. So I'm pretty much done with this. I don't want to do it. I'm just going to click it, select it, and delete it, because I'm going to show you a new technique that will allow you to transform the picture into swatches, and then you can nice and easy go ahead and choose whatever color you prefer. So to start, simply click on the image, and this is going to be mind-blowing. I'm just going to go ahead and make it nice and big, and let me know in the chat if you did know this technique. Okay, click on the image to select it. This can be any images you want, just that you want to pick up color from. Head to the object menu and select create object mosaic, and once you click, you will have the object mosaic option panel that will pop up. From this dialog box, you can choose if you want a new size or if you want to replicate the same size of the actual image, if you want any space in between the tiles, because we're going to go ahead and create a mosaic out of this actual photo. So let's go ahead and add some space. I think the maximum is 8 pixels, or actually 6 pixels in between these tiles. And also you can choose the number of tiles that you want. So you maybe want 10 rows on, or this is basically the width and the height are the number of row and the number of columns that you want. Then you can choose if you want the result in color or in grayscale. Of course we want color. We're here talking about color and create color swatches. Then you can choose if to delete the raster image, which is the image below. In this case, I'm gonna untick it because I want to keep it, and then you can use ratio or resize it if you want to keep a particular size from the image. In this case, I am happy like that. I'm just gonna leave you for a second just in case you want to take a screenshot of my actual settings here. So time to take a little screenshot, and here we go. Are you ready? Let's go ahead and click on OK. And boom, we've done it. We've literally transformed our image, that by the way, because we have not deleted it, is just below there, into swatches. And those are vector shapes. So as you can see, you can go ahead and select all these little squares. So in this case, of course, I'm going to go ahead and undo just to real quick show you what would have happened if we did go ahead and select our delete the raster object. So again, select your image, object, create object mosaic, and then in this case we're going to delete the raster and click on OK. Boom, it's done. We have our image. As you can see now, we do not have any space because I didn't put any gutter in between the lines. So this is literally a translation of the image in swatches. Isn't that like mind-blowing? I find this so exciting. So once you're here, you have a few options. Let's say that you want to use the entire color palette. Well, in this case, simply go ahead and select the image, then head to our window, and then let's bring up the swatches panel. From here, you can also, with your image selected, head to the little folder located at the bottom of the swatches panel and click on the new color group. By doing so, you can call this one colorful sunset, and making sure that you have your selected artwork ticked, you can go ahead and click on OK. And look what happened. All these colors have already been transformed into a swatches, which is absolutely phenomenal. And you can also go ahead and select all the other swatches that are here. There are default inside Illustrator, so we can go ahead and delete these swatches. So as you can see, the only swatches that you have are the swatches from this color palette. Isn't that amazing? From this artwork, sorry, which was originally the image. So if you're trying to create, or maybe you're commissioned for a work and someone provides you an image just like this one, and they're like, hey, I really want you to pick up the color palette. Look at that. We have, in a matter of literally a minute, let me see how long it's been, perhaps, yeah, literally 3 minutes, we have transformed this image into our swatches. Look at that. Look how cool is that. So that picture is being summarized into the swatches. Now we can do something else. We can go ahead and create a new group. I'm going to call this one selection. So here I'm just going to go ahead and pick some of these colors, and perhaps you can duplicate it by accessing this little plus icon here, so you can see that we create a duplicate of the same color. Let me go ahead and see if that was the right one. Here it is. That duplicate actually appears at the top. It's not going to go ahead and appear in the color group. So let's see that I want this coral, and maybe I want this aqua color, and maybe I'm gonna throw in a lovely purple, and let's get in this to this salmon color here. So let's see that those color I'm now bringing in are my selection. So those are the main color that I actually really want to use from this color palette. So we still keep the same swatches there. We create a selection of swatches, but now we're collaborating with our colleagues, with our clients, and we want to make sure that they have access to this color all the time. Well, this is the place where our amazing libraries come into play. As you can see, I do not lie. I mention libraries pretty much at every challenge, but you can see that I use libraries all the time. Look at that. Those we're just still at the letter A and I'm still scrolling. So those are all libraries that I use for my events, for my talks, for my projects, for my clients. They're there and they have assets, all sort of assets. They have brands, they have color palettes. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and just to I should have a test one that I use quite often. As you can see, I have a different color palette. Let's go ahead and create a new one. Otherwise, we have a lot of colors in this test one. I'm going to go ahead and click on the create new library. I'm going to call this one color challenge. And you can go ahead and click on create. And then once you have selected a color group that you've created inside the swatches panel, you can automatically go ahead and use this little icon located at the bottom of the panel in order to transfer the color right away. So if we have an artwork, I'm just going to go ahead now. Probably should have had, let's see if we can grab some artwork real quick from my previous library. I'm just going to go ahead and open this little space image that I've used in the past. Here it is. So if now I'm going to go ahead and select this little illustration, here it is. Let's grab this one. It's much nicer. Oops. If I'm going to go ahead and copy and bring this illustration in this workspace where we have these colors, we can also start to go ahead and change the color and swap them and making sure that I apply these specific color swatches to it. In fact, I can go ahead and select my artwork and then use the edit and edit colors, here it is, and then recolored artwork. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead into my advanced option, and from here you can see that we have our selection, so we can just simply pick the selection. So the color will be automatically picked from the selection of color, and look how beautiful it is. So we have this space illustration that I've done, which now matches the color that I've selected from this picture. So even if they're not all the color from the pictures, they're still match pretty lovely in a pretty lovely way the actual photo there. Of course, we can use the entire color palette. In that case, we will have to, of course, match up because we have a lot of greens, a lot of blues. So that's why I try to have a more reduced color palette that we can apply. But since I'm here, I also want to show you something else that you can do with the wonderful Recolor artwork. In fact, if you select the artwork that you will shoot Recolor, there is another way that it is even faster than the one that I just showed you. So the first method that I showed you allows you to translate every image into swatches, bring it in the swatches panel, bring it inside the libraries panel. By the way, the libraries panel not only will store it, will allow you to open it throughout your Creative Cloud. You can use it on your mobile, on your tablet, on Photoshop, on Illustrator, InDesign, After Effects, you name it, you can do it. It's amazing. Such a great time saver. But also you can use the invite to library in order to share with your colleagues and clients, so they will always be able to have access to it. And if they, for example, want to use this color palette for marketing material or to take a little bit step further, you can also open them inside Adobe Express. In fact, with the Creative Cloud Express, you'll be able to access your library. So you just simply by doing these few steps, you have opened a world of possibility in order to use this color throughout your team, again, with your clients and throughout your project. But let me show you another way in which you can recolor, and that's another very quick snapshot of workflow that you can implement. Let's say that you have this image that is quite inspiring, and let's say that you have this graphic that is lovely, but it doesn't match the color maybe of your brand, of your marketing campaign. Well, all you have to do is to click on the image on your graphic that has multiple colors. In this case, we even have gradients, so let's make it as complex as possible. And then we're going to go ahead and select our edit menu, and again, edit colors, and we're going to reopen our Recolor workspace. And from here we have this, which was an introduction, I think a bit 3 years ago now, of our amazing color theme picker. And look at that, if we go ahead and select the color theme picker, we can either click or even drag around the area of an image in order to select the color. And look what happened here. The color that we have selected from the theme that we have extracted by clicking and dragging on the image gets moved into our illustration, and all the color that were previously on the image are going to be changed and swapped for the color that we are inside the photo. So the vector photo color, the vector colors get swapped with the image color, which is pretty mind-blowing. And here you also have different options. For example, let's say there is too much blue. Perhaps you want this lighter green to be more prominent, which at the moment is just here. You can use the prominent color slider in order to shuffle things around. So you can go ahead and click and drag in order to reveal which is the most prominent color that you would like to use inside the illustration, inside the graphic. Also, you can work here by using the saturation and the luminosity. So you have saturation and brightness. So here you can keep the same hue and the same colors, but maybe you can bump up the saturation, just making the color really intense without actually changing the colors. And what if you're not happy? You can always go back and click on the reset button to restore the original colors. So I think that those are some pretty exciting example of how you can make magic happen using colors inside Adobe Illustrator. Now, before I show you more techniques, I just want to make sure to see if there is a any question in the chat. Emmer, I missed the swatches ad. Where is it again? So if you need to add the swatches, I'm not sure which one you mean. If you mean to bring it inside the image, all you have to do is to once you do your mosaic here, so let's go ahead and create the object mosaic. Once you have the swatches, all you have to do is to click on the library, on the little folder, sorry, where it says new color group. By doing so, make sure that you have the selected artwork. And by the way, that works with any graphic. It doesn't have to be the mosaic, in fact. Let's go ahead and select this other artwork. I'm going to go ahead and click on the new color group, making sure that the selected artwork, and I selected the exact artwork that I want to pick up the color from. Click on OK, boom, done. Is already inside the swatches panel, ready to be used. And again, you can always add them inside the libraries. Now, for the libraries, you have a minimum, I believe, of 5 colors. You probably should tell me now. 5 colors, yes, exactly. So if you want to have a selection of this library inside to use inside the color, the libraries panel, what I will do is just to make sure that I deselect my graphic first, and then just simply click and select the color that I do not want to add. So I'll just make sure that I leave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with the white. Delete the rest, make sure to delete it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now she'll be able to select this panel, and boom, have it inside my libraries, ready to go. Now we just have a few more minutes, and there is another thing that I want to show you. So what if I want to transform these pictures into, for example, a gradient? So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to use this other gorgeous sunset. So for example, you want to apply this mood to this picture, so this lovely sunset color, to this other picture here. So how could you use this image? So let's say, for example, we know that we have blend mode. So if we go into properties and we then go ahead and select, for example, a multiply, that kind of works, but not really, because we can still see the cloud and element of the picture that are actually somewhat overlapping, and that doesn't really do the job. So how can we create almost a gradient filter to use? Maybe you could go and create, maybe a shape, and then you can start to go ahead and start to pick up the color and then making a gradient, and then it becomes a matter of, again, spending so much time. How do we save time and we work smarter? Well, there is another way inside the object menu in which you can transform your image into a resource of color. In this case, I'm talking about gradient, and therefore I'm going to go ahead and click on the image first, then head to the object menu, and in this case, we're going to go ahead and select create gradient mesh. And once we do that, we have the create gradient mesh option dialog box coming up. It tells you again the number of rows that you want. So of course, the more detailed you do it, the more colors it's going to pick up inside your image. You don't want to do it super detailed, because otherwise it's going to start to like really show all the areas that are inside the image. You want to keep it nice and loose, just to have the feel, the vibe, the mood of the actual image. You can have a flat appearance, you can have it to the center. I'm going to go ahead and keep flat. Make sure to click on preview if you perhaps are following along and nothing has happened. Probably because you have to tick the preview button in order to see that preview showing live as you work. Once you're happy, click on OK. And now that we have this gradient, we can go ahead and use our opacity blending mode and perhaps use the color mode in order to transform our picture and apply the color and the mood of another picture to that specific picture. Now, if that starts to become a little bit too much, you can always select it and then use our opacity slider. And I want to do it like a little bit of before and after. So, you know, that's very useful. For example, if you work into Instagram and you want to make sure that all pictures have kind of the same vibe, the same feel, you know, so look at the difference. This is the original image, which is, you know, has quite of a tint already. And here we have the gradient that we have applied to the image. We can also, you know, maybe do a little swooparoo here, and because I think that red matches a little bit better the buildings rather than the sky. But you know, this is completely up to you. Those are two random images that I'm working with. You can use literally whatever you want in order to create this lovely effect. And it's the same here. You can perhaps find a way to remix these two images. What if, again, you're going with this tint of this sunset, but you want to overlay on top of the other one? Well, again, make sure that you place one on top of the other, then object and gradient mesh. And then once you're happy with your gradient mesh, you can go ahead and use your opacity and blend mode. By the way, the blend mode is always set by default to normal. You can go ahead and click on each one of the blend mode to see the different way in which the color of the image of the object situated above are going to be combined with the image below. This of course depends on the brightness, saturation and hue of the pixels of the actual image below. So of course the result will vary continuously, but look how beautiful. So this is still the same picture. We don't have any other image. We're just using the color lifted from the image that we had before, and then we're layering them just to enhance and to give that same, again, the same sort of vibe, the same sort of feel to it, which I think is pretty awesome. Now, if you want to be consistent, I think that color was the one that I've used before. And look at that. If you have stuff like that where the images are of different sizes, don't forget that you can always use any shape. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and create a rectangle tool by pressing the letter M to go ahead and click on top of the image. And if you're wondering what I'm doing with this rectangle now, well, all I'm doing is simply to create a mask. So let's say perhaps I want to use this one for maybe an Instagram post. So that will be a 1080 by 1080 rectangle that we need, because that's the resolution of your Instagram post. And it looks like that I have to unlock my sizes before making sure that I created that little square. And now if you want to make sure to crop that image and the gradient that we use to create that beautiful tint, you want to make sure that you first group these two elements. So click and drag on both of them and use the Control G on Windows, that's Command G on a Mac shortcut, to group them. Otherwise, Clip and Mask will not work with multiple objects unless they are transformed into a single path or a compound path or a grouped object, because otherwise Illustrator will get confused. Now we have this top object, the second object underneath, which is the group of the two images. Magic shortcut Control T or Control 7 or Command 7 if you're working on a Mac. And by doing so, you will be able to literally have this image here. I know that perhaps I have 1 minute to go, but I want to show you again. So let's assume that we're working on our lovely Instagram. I want to make sure that our images all look the same. They have the same vibe in terms of colors. So again, what I've done here, look at that. So I'm going to go ahead and place these up here. And by the way, I think that the opacity level was a little bit different, but you can also double click as many times as you want on the elements that are in here, and then you can just move it along just like so. And look at this. That was the original image that we had. Oops, it was already there. And that was the other image that we had over here. And by applying a gradient, we sort of brought them together, and that works very well to make sure that your Instagram have, or your social media or your campaign has the same color. So unfortunately, it is time to say goodbye. I wanted to do a super quick recap. Remember, select your images, object, convert, create an object mosaic, create a gradient mesh, leverage the power of the new group when you have selected an artwork, leverage the power of the libraries, leverage the power of the Recolor artwork, and of course your swatches panel that is always there ready to help you out and transform any graphic into an amazing palette that you can use over and over again. Unfortunately, it is that time to say goodbye and wish you everybody a wonderful rest of the week, but I will be with you tomorrow for another challenge in Illustrator. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up both on YouTube and of course on Behance, and stay tuned because as usual there is so much more fun coming up at Adobe Live. I will see you soon, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.